Like many, I used to believe that meditation in its highest form was supposed to bring one to a non-thinking state. And I tried in vain to stop all mental activity with meditation. I had concluded that meditation was to be, or that mentation, the thought processes, were to be brought to a stop completely. And that was after study in the Orient with 3 different groups of meditators. I still believe that the purpose of it all was to stop mentation. But this isn't so. It's only partly correct. Now, while semantics can get all messed up in this explanation, please listen gently. And I'll explain something that I find that even long-time meditators seem to understand very little of, especially those who are meditating for a personal benefit, for their personal relief from tension, or their personal refreshment of mind and body, which would allow them to revivify themselves and all that stuff, which is actually just froth and foam at the surface of meditation, only the merest beginning of what it's really about. Now, when meditation has performed its greatest service, it leads to the recognition of the divine mind, the overmind, the cosmic mind, or whatever you want to call it, and its relationship to the world of tangibility. I emphasize that last part, its relationship to the world of tangibility, because this is what so often is left out. While meditation surely subdues one's thoughts about the processes involving the material world, while at the same time allowing a consciousness of pure thought as one learns to maintain the meditative state of mind, he learns also about the appearances of illusion and why those appearances and what to do about them. Why the appearances of what's wrong with the world and what to do about them, if anything. Mostly, when meditation reaches its peak within us, we find ourselves with a knowledge of what to do for our world. Not just the personal stuff about how to relax and invigorate the body, or how to levitate, and all that absolute foolishness. Not just the surface stuff about how to take care of one's personal affairs, his own body and his health and that of his family. So I'd like to say here that, as I understand it, with meditation one doesn't stop thinking. The purpose of meditation and all of the mind-stilling exercises in the world are not intended to stop thinking, because they can't stop the divine mind's thinking. At best, they when they most nearly accomplish their original intentions, that is, the meditative exercises. What they do is they end thinking, our thinking as a human being. They slow or they stop our thinking as a mortal. They subdue thinking as an egotistical, self-centered misidentification. But they don't stop thinking. You see? They don't stop mentation. Awareness goes right on being aware. And if the meditative exercises have done their job, awareness continues without the misidentification's inhibitions and all of his baseless desires and anxieties and distortions, and his concepts of power, and his concepts of flows of energy, and all of that junk. We just, please understand, we don't stop thinking. We simply stop thinking as that miserable, limited speck in space, to allow the thoughts of deity to be heard. We think less as a person and allow the museful meditations of God mind to enter conscious awareness. To enter? Well, to enter from where? From the subconscious in one direction, or from the overmind, cosmic mind, or whatever you want to call it. And a psychologist would still call this thinking. But it is more musing. It is more like thought noting to me simply because I don't know what to call it. But there is a grand difference between this and the ordinary thought processes of the human that we normally engage in and which are stilled as a consequence of quiet musing or meditating. This selfless musing is a little bit like daydreaming. I don't know how to explain it. It runs lightly, like a colt that has just been turned out to pasture. Or a better illustration, the musing of the meditative state is like a puppy that is walking and running and frisking with his master. He's skipping freely. The puppy is from interest to interest. He's led one moment by his eyes, sees something and runs, and then the next moment by his nose, he smells something and runs. And the next moment by his ears, he hears something and he runs, and yet all of his roaming and his rambling from thicket to cricket to from bush to bush keeps naturally in a direction and a speed that is set by the master that he's walking with. Unbound freedom within the protective guidance of love. And so it is with awareness. Awareness is the functioning of mind. Awareness is the puppy of mind. Awareness roams freely and skips, but it's kept within bounds. Within the bounds that mind is. Within a limitless, boundless infinity that really has no bounds. But this is translated humanly. The musing doesn't allow us to go off half-cocked, running with the heart, without any thought whatever of the consequences of our actions. And most certainly it never allows our human actions to be hurtful or harmful to another. Well, this is at least how meditation is for me. I run from wonder to wonder. I can't say that I do this on the wings of awareness, but as the very wings of awareness itself. And I'm not tethered by mind, I'm not tied by mind, but guided with an assurance. With an assurance that I simply have learned not to doubt nor question. Well, so much for musing. Meditative musing, it is not a frivolous activity as it's claimed. It may surely lack much of the reason and logic that Western psychology claims is representative of the purest and most productive scientific thinking, but that's just a bunch of the nonsense picked up from buying the old Greek philosophers with their reason and logic, and buying it hook, line, and sinker. Inspirational thought is very often void, totally void of Aristotelian reason and logic. Musing is often, most often, absolutely unscientific. And it moves into conscious awareness. It comes into conscious awareness without enough words involved to even be concerned about the rules of semantics at all. And yet, this unself musing produces the insights into reality, which is the stuff of real genius. Pragmatism has its place, but so does dreaming. Give me the happy balance between these two, where the puppy roams. All right, I would like to tell you that there are two worldly conditions that are extremely helpful to musing. Okay, now this ceases to be absolute, if ever indeed it was, but I would like to say that there are two worldly conditions that help musing, and I want to get on to one of them real quick. One of them is the condition of, you see, I say condition instead of an exercise because it's too easy to be an exercise. One of them is the condition of simply sitting in front of a fire. Just sitting in front of a campfire or a hearth fire. If indeed there's any such thing as genetic memory, and there must be, else the puppy dog that runs so freely in the field wouldn't run around in a little circle when he finally gets ready to nest down in the grass, making a circle in the grass that we're told by dog experts is a holdover from its time as a wild dog in the high grasses of the jungles and so forth. Well, this genetic memory, or let's put it more correctly, the divine imprint, which is within holistic awareness, the divine imprint that is there, contains a feeling of restfulness about a campfire, a sense of security and warmth and mysticism about a campfire. Maybe it's the sparks as they go wheeling upward into the inky blackness. Or maybe it's the eerie shadows that are cast on the trees all around it. Or maybe it's just watching the embers dance, watching the little jets of fire as they wiggle and move and sometimes smoke and turn and change colors. Maybe it's the whole scene, the fire, the sight of it, the smell of it, the sound of it. But whatever, we're only 2 generations away from campfires, you know. Just 2 generations ago, or 2.5 generations ago, or thereabouts, all of us were close to fires. Everyone had a fire most every day somewhere in his daily affairs. Cooking, or in the winter at the fireplace. So, with all of these years, humanly speaking, there would be a place in the divine imprint of a sense of comfort and security relative to a campfire, since for so long the campfire represented a place to be warm in the winter, a hearth fire was a place to be secure in the home, and people gathered around in a sense of enjoyment and rest and wonderment, talking over the day's events. All right, now that is one condition that is immediately helpful to the musing state. There's an old Indian saying that I quote often. Indians say that you cannot look at a campfire and worry. Well, for myself, I believe this to be true. I don't think anyone can look at a campfire and worry. I know he can't. I just know he can't. Too much musing begins to happen. Too much, not thought-taking, but imagery and wistful thoughts of happy grace to worry. All right, now there is another condition. We can't build a fire just at any time of the day, can we? There's another one that's a little bit easier to come up with. But the other condition that is very conducive to musing is the sound of rain. You see, even to this day, when it rains hard, the sound of rain comes through our bedroom windows. And we don't often, even in our homes, get far enough away from the doors and windows to not hear the rain when it rains hard. Again, we're only a couple of generations away from the very, very small home where the front door and the hearth where we sat to get warm was only a few feet from the rain, and we could hear the rain. So the sounds of rain, too, are conducive to music. It's a sense of comfort. Many of us remember listening to the rain on the roof in the loft above the living room downstairs. So, the sounds of rain. Well, we can't conjure up a rain every time we would like to sit and do some thoughtful musing, but now, in the age of electronics, we can push a button and listen to the rain on a tape recorder. And to show you that these words are honest and meaningful, the rest of this tape is going to be devoted to a recording that I made just a week or two ago when we had the record rains that fell here in Alabama, 10 inches overnight, more rain than the state of Alabama has ever recorded historically. I opened the window and put the microphone out, and you can and recorded the sounds over a long period of time, and I've selected a couple of those periods for you to listen to. I would like to suggest, for any of you who have difficulty sleeping, to put this part of the tape on and listen to it at night while you're falling asleep. Turn the volume up enough so that it sounds like the rain outside. Put the recorder perhaps in the window. And you will find yourself falling to sleep quickly. But in the daytime, you will simply listen to it and muse, as we all do when we come in from the thunder shower. Okay, enough said. The rest of the tape is the record rainfall that fell on Alabama and the rolling thunderheads that we all enjoyed. Batten down the hatches now for a real thunderstorm.